Don't get involved, you poor subcontractor.
It was Laura, the daughter of the contractor's president, who said to me, "A subcontractor." Laura has been arrogant and unreasonable towards me since the first time we met. To make matters worse, she mocked me when I attended a social event. Besides, my manager, Robert, who was sitting next to me, treated me like a nuisance.
You're out of place. Go home.
I had endured everything up until now, but I was at my breaking point. Day after day, I sacrificed time with my family and worked hard to contribute to the contractor. But if all my efforts are going to be unappreciated, I might as well let it all go. Don't regret this. Laura, unable to understand my words, continued her usual attitude. However, on the day of the meeting, after I canceled the $300 million contract, Laura and Robert, who had looked down on me, had to apologize. My name is Bob, and I'm turning 45 this year. I work as a sales representative for a subcontracting company, and it's been about 15 years since I joined this company. Originally, I was a restaurant manager, but I changed careers when I turned 30, and now I'm the top sales performer in the company. I married my wife, Sarah, when I was 32. We both loved our jobs, so we decided not to have children. We've been married for 13 years now, and I still get along well with Sarah and have a stable job, so I consider myself a lucky guy. However, there is one small issue. Recently, Laura, the daughter of the contractor company's president, has started interfering with our work. I first met Laura during a business meeting. That day, my manager, Robert, was also present. And from the contractor's side, their representative, Mike, was supposed to handle the meeting alone. However, when we arrived at the contractor's office, there was an unfamiliar woman there. "Excuse me, who is this woman?"
My name is Laura. I'm the daughter of this company's president, James.
"Oh, you're James' daughter. Nice to meet you." After that, I proceeded with the meeting with Mike. Since it was her first time attending a business meeting, Laura just sat on the sofa and listened. I heard that she's 28 years old this year, but she has been living off part-time jobs and has never worked as a full-time employee. As she approached 30, her dad, James, thought it wasn't good for her to continue like that, so he had her join his company. However, Laura still didn't have any specific duties, so she was attending the meeting to observe how things are done. During the meeting, Robert and Laura just watched and didn't say a word. Well then, that's all for today. Thank you.
Well, can you wait a moment?
Yes, what is it?
I can't stand to look at your suit. It looks so cheap.
Suddenly, Laura, who is much younger than me, said something I wasn't expecting, and I froze. My mind couldn't keep up, and I think I stayed like that for a few seconds. Of course, I wasn't the only one surprised. Both Mike and Robert seemed shocked by her comment, and Mike even started apologizing to me.
Hey, are you listening?
"Oh yes, I'm listening, but I was just surprised by what you said out of nowhere."
That's why you can only work for a subcontractor.
Bob, I'm really sorry. Laura, please don't say such things.
I didn't understand why she suddenly said that, but it seemed my suit didn't meet Laura's standards. This suit cost me $1,000. Even though I thought that, I couldn't say anything in front of Laura, the daughter of the contractor company's president, so I remained silent. Then Robert, who was sitting next to me, said something outrageous.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was thinking the same thing.
Robert always goes along with those in power, so he sided with Laura. In the end, I couldn't stand to watch Mike apologize anymore, so I quickly left the contractor's office. I've seen Robert agree with our executives often, But I never imagined hearing something like that from Laura. Since then, Laura has started showing up at every business meeting I'm involved in, always saying something nasty. Whenever I visit the contractor, Laura is almost always nearby, making unpleasant comments like, "Your clothes look so cheap," or "The way you talk is strange."
Why does someone like you come to negotiate with us? I want you to stop.
Did I do something wrong?
What are you talking about?
Since the first time we met, you've been saying terrible things to me. I asked why she was so nasty, but Laura never gave me a reason. In the end, I never found out why and continued to endure her unreasonable comments, which caused me a lot of stress. Moreover, as Laura became more capable at her jobs, she started giving me orders. For example, she would instruct me to deliver parts that take 2 weeks to procure in just 1 week, or to lower the prices further. At first, I tried to meet her demands, working overtime every day until the last train. But no matter how hard I worked, the demands only increased, and I didn't feel appreciated. I even started sleeping at the office, going home only once every 3 days. My conversations with Sarah were reduced to simple greetings, and honestly, I was on the verge of physical and mental exhaustion. During this tough time, a social event with the contractor was planned.
You don't have to dress formally for the social event. You can even wear jeans if you want.
When I met Laura the other day, she told me that the day of the social event was a day off, and since Laura had told me there was no dress code, I decided to attend in black jeans and a t-shirt. However, this decision turned out to be a mistake. I regretted not thinking more about why Laura had personally informed me about the dress code for the event. When I arrived at the venue for the social event, I was surprised to see how everyone else was dressed. Everyone was dressed in suits and ties. It was clear that I was the center of attention, being the only one dressed casually. Did Laura lie to me? I doubted her intentions as I walked into the venue. Then Laura, who had already arrived, walked over to me with a smile and said,
Aren't you embarrassed to come dressed like that? You look so cheap. Don't talk to me.
"You told me it was okay to wear whatever I wanted."
Don't get involved, you poor subcontractor.
I was so shocked that my mouth gaped open. I came dressed as I was told. So why do I have to put up with this? And from the very beginning, Laura has been treating me harshly. But why am I the only one she treats this way? As Laura sneered at me, Robert appeared beside her and added more insults.
You're out of place. Go home.
I tried to explain the situation to Robert, but they both just stood there with creepy smiles. Maybe Robert knew about this all along and is just messing with me. My temper, which I had suppressed until now, began to rise. I was thinking about how to respond, but anything I said now could make me look like the bad guy. For a moment, I thought it might be better to just endure it silently. But then I reflected on all my efforts. I've sacrificed time with my family, working hard day after day to contribute to the contractor. Do I have to keep working under people who look down on me? If my efforts are not going to be rewarded, maybe I should just let it all go. With that thought, I suddenly blurted out these words. Don't regret this.
What? Regret? How can I have regrets? Get out of here.
Understood. Goodbye. I gave Laura a slight nod and left the social event without participating, heading home instead. From the next day, I carried on with my work as usual, making sure to stay out of trouble until the next business meeting. A while after the social event, on the day of the meeting with the contractor, I went to the contractor's office with Robert, where Laura and Mike were waiting. As soon as the meeting started, I announced that I wanted to cancel the $300 million contract we had agreed to.
What are you talking about? You want to cancel a $300 million contract.
What are you saying? If you do that, you'll be the one in trouble, not us.
Even if it causes trouble, I don't want to have a contract with you.
Stop fooling around. Apologize to them right now.
When I suddenly announced that I wanted to cancel the contract on the day of the meeting, Robert panicked, and Laura looked at me with a puzzled expression. The plan to withdraw from the $300 million contract was something I had thought of when I was kicked out of the social event. I knew that doing something like this wouldn't come without consequences. There might be some punishment, but canceling the contract would also cause trouble for Laura. This is because Laura was the main person handling this contract, with Mike assisting her. And without our deliveries, the contractor wouldn't be able to produce their products. A $300 million delivery could have resulted in even larger profits once the products hit the market. However, Laura doesn't seem to understand this at all and continues to act high-handed.
What is this poor man babbling about?
If you're going to apologize, now is the time.
Apologize. For what?
Wait, Bob. Canceling the contract now would be a disaster.
Laura, completely clueless about the situation, insists she's not in the wrong. But Mike, who understands the chaos if we don't deliver our products, is desperately trying to keep the contract going, turning the room into a chaotic mess. I've worked on several contracts with Mike before and have a bit of a soft spot for him, though I also feel a bit guilty. However, since this project was led by Laura, I judged that it wouldn't cause too much trouble for Mike.
I can't understand this. I'm going to tell my dad.
Laura pulled out her phone and started calling James. Robert and Mike tried to stop her, but I was actually looking forward to meeting James.
You're done for now. My dad will be here any minute.
After a while, James arrived.
Dad, Bob suddenly said he wants to cancel the contract.
That's sudden. Oh, isn't it, Bob? It's been a while.
Long time no see. How have you been? Laura was trying to tell on me to James to get him to do something, but that's not how it went. As soon as James saw me, he started chatting. No one here could have predicted that James and I would be having a pleasant conversation.
The restaurant you recommended was great. I'd love to hear about more good places to eat.
Ignoring the situation, James happily chatted with me.
Wait a minute. Dad, do you know Bob?
Yeah, we met when Bob was managing a restaurant.
I didn't know that. I've never heard about it.
Well, I never mentioned it. We still hang out together in private.
In fact, I met James when I was managing a restaurant. One day, while I was running the place alone as usual, James, who was dining alone, suddenly collapsed. I immediately called an ambulance and, worried about his condition, decided to accompany him to the hospital. I needn't have been with him, but James looked very distressed at the time, and I stayed with him. Moreover, since I was working alone that day, I had to close the restaurant to accompany him.
Bob, thank you so much. You saved my life. You are my lifesaver. If you ever need anything, please rely on me.
James thanked me repeatedly when he woke up in the hospital. After that, James visited my restaurant frequently until I left, and we exchanged information about good restaurants and sometimes dined together privately. After I changed jobs, finding out that James was the president of the contractor company was a memorable surprise for both of us.
Earlier, Bob mentioned something about canceling the contract. Is that true?
Yes, he did. I was so shocked when he suddenly said that.
But knowing Bob, there must be a reason, right?
When James asked, I quietly nodded. I then explained everything that had happened, including the things Laura had said to me, as best as I could remember. As he listened to my story, James furrowed his brow, crossed his arms, and nodded repeatedly. And as soon as I finished talking, he began reminiscing about our past together.
You know, Bob saved my life when I collapsed. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here right now.
What do you mean?
I was in a critical condition that required immediate surgery.
Actually, James was in a life-threatening situation when he collapsed. I later learned that if I hadn't called the ambulance right away, it could have been fatal. To me, it was only natural to help someone who had collapsed, and I didn't think I had done anything special. But to James, I am his lifesaver. So, no matter how much he loves his daughter, he wouldn't support Laura's unreasonable behavior. When Laura heard James's story, she quietly began to cry. I was surprised by her sudden tears. But then I remembered hearing a rumor that Laura was very fond of her dad, James.
Oh my God. So, I've been treating Dad's lifesaver terribly?
Yes, that's exactly what you've been doing.
I'm so sorry. Really sorry.
It's okay as long as you understand. But why did you single me out? Through her tears, Laura slowly began to answer my question. James and Laura often went out to eat together. And during those times, a certain man's name always came up. Apparently, James was close to this man, and they dined together frequently. Also, James talked about him so much that it irritated Laura. Then came the day of our first business meeting. At first, she intended to vent a little, but she found my reactions to her snide remarks amusing and couldn't stop herself from being mean. For such a reason, I thought that, but it seems the man who James often mentioned was me. Laura had been harassing me without knowing who I was, and I was caught in the crossfire of her frustration. It's frustrating to be the target of her stress relief. While Laura is entirely at fault, perhaps I'm also to blame for not standing up for myself. Thinking this, I couldn't be too harsh on her. After that, Laura apologized, and the situation was resolved. After the discussion ended and I left the room, Laura came running after me.
Wait, please. I'm really sorry for being so awful to you.
It's okay now. Just make sure to learn from this experience.
This is a token of my apology.
As she said this, Laura pulled a melted chocolate out of her pocket. At first, I thought it was just a regular piece of chocolate and took it. But I was surprised when the bag squished in my hand. Laura also didn't expect it to be melted and looked equally surprised. Is this another prank?
No, it must have melted from body heat.
I know. I didn't expect to be handed melted chocolate at this moment, and I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Seeing me laugh, Laura, who had been crying a moment ago, also started to smile. A while later, the $300 million contract was officially signed. I had initially wanted to cancel the contract to trouble Laura, but after her sincere apology and our reconciliation, there was no reason to void it anymore. I decided to forgive everything that had happened because I wanted to maintain a good relationship with James in the future. When I told my colleagues about this, they said, "You were too soft, and you should have canceled the contract no matter what." But I believe that the decision I made was the best one. Of course, Robert also apologized to me. Even after the $300 million contract was completed, We continued to work with the contractor several times. Although Laura didn't attend every meeting, she was present at many of them. When we first met, she had just become a full-time employee and was hardly able to do any work. But now a year has passed since then. I had a hunch, but Laura has been learning so quickly that it's hard to believe she had only ever worked part-time before. She picked up new skills one after another, and now I hear she sometimes handles meetings on her own.
I really am sorry for what happened back then. I was so ignorant and arrogant, and it's so embarrassing.
No, I never imagined you'd mature so much.
Don't tease me.
When we have meetings together, we often enjoy these casual conversations. Given our age difference, Laura feels like a little sister or even a daughter to me. So, every time I see her growth, I am both impressed and filled with a sense of fondness. Since my wife and I don't have children, I'm not sure if this is what paternal feelings are, but I imagine it's how I would feel if I were a father. Time passed, and I decided to retire. I first met Laura when I was 45, so it's been 15 years since then. During these 15 years, I resolved many issues and saw many colleagues leave, among other things. Among all the experiences, meeting Laura was definitely the most impactful. Reflecting on all these events, I finished my last day of work and was about to leave the office. Suddenly, I heard a loud pop from behind me. When I turned around in surprise, I saw Laura holding a party popper, and behind her were my colleagues I had worked with over the years, along with James.
Thank you for your hard work over the years.
Why are you all here?
Well, it's your last day, so we had to celebrate.
Then, the employees behind her brought out a large cake and placed it in front of me. Encouraged by everyone, I blew out the candles. I never expected to be celebrated like this by everyone, and I couldn't help but shed tears despite myself. Laura had planned the retirement celebration, which made me even more emotional. Then the cake was cut, and everyone present enjoyed it together. I was so happy that I couldn't wait to tell Sarah about it when I got home.
I'm so glad. It's the result of all your hard work.
Her words brought tears to my eyes once again. Looking back, despite all the challenges, I'm grateful for all the hard work I've put in. From now on, I would like to live for Sarah, who has always supported me, while enjoying